Shiny Pokemon are easily some of the coolest things in all of Pokemon. However, with them being so rare, it's pretty common that in a couple years you wouldn't even see one. So with that in mind, I decided I have way too much free time and I invited my best friend Zango to do a shiny only SOULINK challenge in Pokemon Y. If you don't know what a SOULINK is, along with regular hardcore Nuzlocke rules, the Pokemon that we encounter are linked based on where we encounter them. This means that if either of those Pokemon die, they both die no matter what. This video took us a seriously long time to record, so I really hope you enjoy this run that has a couple really close calls. And above all else, please remember to leave a like and subscribe as our sanity really needs it. And a really quick side note, I won't be covering all of Zango's things, which you can all see in his own perspective. We start as any normal Generation 6 game starts, with a fletchling waking us up out of bed. From here, we wake up, meet our mom, go outside, and see our friends for the first time. I appreciate what they try to do with the rivals in this game, but in my opinion, they're just a bit too much. From here, it's straight into business, as we have to choose our starter. The shiny odds in this game are 1 in 4,096, which is doubled from previous generations being 1 in 8,192. These odds are obviously not that good. And on top of those odds, we have a long, unskippable cutscene before we're even able to see if our starter is shiny or not. The cutscene lasts around 50 seconds, meaning it's one encounter every 50 seconds. Now I'm no math magician, but that seems like a pretty long time just to get one encounter. And because of this stupidly long encounter process, it takes me a week before I'm able to get my shiny Pokemon. It is only after 2,741 encounters that we finally find our prize. Holy shit! I finally got it! Let's go! Let's go! Hardy isn't bad either, let's go! Now as I battle Shauna, let me put into perspective how long it actually took me to get this beautiful Fennekin. With one encounter every 50 seconds, 2,741 encounters would take 137,050 seconds to accomplish. If we shorten this to hours, we get about 38 hours. That is over a day and a half worth of time in terms of encounters. Obviously, I didn't do it straight because only a madman would do that. Also, the main reason I chose Fennekin was because Zango decided that he wanted Froakie. And to keep this SOULINK interesting, we decided we would not be allowed to capture any of the same Pokemon. I also just liked Shiny Delphox because I think it's really pretty. With our prize finally obtained, we head over to Santaloon City. From here, I do a little bit of dress up as I prepare for my next shiny hunt. That hunt is done on Route 22, where we find ourselves a shiny Bunnelby. Bunnelby only took just over 1,200 attempts to find, but is much more mild in comparison to what Zango got on this route. But hey, I'm not here to spoil, so you're just gonna have to watch his video to find out what he got. I nicknamed the Bunnelby Big Mac, and it's time to face Viola. She leads with Surskit while I lead with Big Mac. Turn 1, Surskit goes for a quick attack that crits but doesn't deal too much damage while I land a double slap. Turn 2, Surskit just goes for a useless water sport while I land a much stronger tackle. Next turn, Surskit has to heal while I land another strong tackle. One more tackle takes down Surskit, and next to come out is Vivian. I immediately switch out to Fennekin, who has yet to be nicknamed, because I'm afraid of an infestation locking me in. My fear was correct, as Fennekin just gets hit by a very weak infestation from Vivian. Next turn, Vivian does way more damage with a tackle than I was expecting, and Ember does way less damage than I was expecting. But this was just due to a water sport that ended this turn. Next turn, Vivian fortunately just wastes time by going for a Harden, while Fennekin lands a strong Ember. From here, there's nothing I can do but just pray for no crit and just launch an Ember, which fortunately we dodge, and an Ember is able to take down Vivian and win us the gym battle. A very not so clean and very close fight. But with the new level cap, we're able to get a pretty substantial upgrade in the form of Fennekin becoming a Braixen. From here, we head to Lumio City where we meet Professor Sycamore and his lame trio of starters. Braixen sweeps them with ease, and we're given the choice of one of the 3 starters. But unfortunately, they don't have birth defects, meaning they get to sit in the box for the rest of their lives. From here, we head to a cafe, meet the champion Diantha and the evil guy Lysander, get harassed by a girl with 2 Lucario, put Tierno in the dirt, and get 0 answers as to what Mega Evolution actually is. After this, it's time for another shiny hunt. This time, right outside the Pokemon Mansion on Route 7, we find a shiny after just over 3,000 encounters. Holy, there it is! Oh my god, that looks so good! Let's go, shiny Odedge! Let's go! Yep, we found the coolest and best possible shiny you can find in this area. Not only that, use a thing that we can hold over Zango's head, as his wasn't as good here. I name Honedge Whopper because she's the king, or queen I guess, and move on to catch a Furfro and watch the beautiful fireworks. And we're also given some protection by the butler, for some reason. Also, off camera, I renamed Braixen to Baconator, but I spelled it incorrectly, so please don't mention it. Also, shortly after this, Big Mac evolves into one of my favorite Pokemon, Diggersby. After this, we head to Ambret Town, which is just a small detour as we chase Team Flare into Glittering Cave. Here we beat up Team Flare, save the scientist, get a fossil, and escape rope out. With that out of the way, it's time to face Grant and his rock types. Grant leads with Amora, while I lead with Big Mac. Big Mac launches a strong double kick which is able to knock out Amora in a single hit due to being 4 times super effective and a critical hit on the first hit. Last up for Grant is Tyrant. A bulldoze does just over half while also lowering Tyrant's speed. A rock tomb from Tyrant does much less damage to our queen Big Mac and matches our speed drop. Next turn, a simple bulldoze is enough to take down Tyrant and we win the second gym battle. Right after this, we head to right outside Geosenge Town and do another shiny hunt. This time we're able to find a very adorable little gray Eevee. In order to stick with the nickname theme, I name him Chicken Sandwich, but between you and me, his secret nickname is Trans Rights. From here, I play a bunch of games with the little guy as well as petting him a whole bunch so that he's able to evolve into a Sylveon. From here, it's off to Shallower City where we learn a lot about Mega Evolution in the Tower of Mastery. After this, it's time to face Corinna, but we have an insanely favorable matchup. Whopper literally cannot be touched by any Pokemon on Corinna's side, so she's able to simply set up 3 Swords Dances and then sweep the rest of the gym. Good work, Burger Queen. From here, we head to the top of the Tower of Mastery and beat up Corinna with her own Lucario. Isn't that embarrassing? Then she tries to give me the Lucario, but like before, it doesn't have any genetic defects, so we say no. From here, it's off to Coramine City where we beat up Callum really quick and then head into the gym. Here, it's time to face Ramos. He leads with Jumpluff while I lead with Whopper. Turn 1, Jumpluff goes for a very weak acrobatics and Whopper goes for an aerial ace. Next turn the same process repeats, but this time Jumpluff dies. Ramos then immediately sends out his ace, Go-Goat. Unfortunately, Go-Go has a ground move in the form of Bulldoze, so I'm forced to switch out the Chicken Sandwich. But for literally no reason at all, Go-Goat just goes for Grass Knot. Next turn, Go-Go lands a pretty strong takedown while I just use Charm. Once again, the process repeats next turn with me landing a Charm after a strong takedown. After the second takedown, I decide to switch out to Baconator. I go for Flame Charge to offset the Bulldoze speed drop that comes right after. I thought this would put him into range for Ember, but I was wrong and Ember doesn't kill while Bulldoze does a lot of damage. And with that speed drop, it means I messed up drastically, and it might be curtains for Baconator, is what I would say if the AI in this game wasn't so awful, as Go-Go goes for Grass Knot instead. I'm assuming the reason why the AI chooses a move selection like this is because it's similar to the AI of Gen 3. In that game, the AI won't prioritize moves that lower speed if it is already faster. This means the odds of Go-Go selecting Grass Knot instead of Bulldoze increases after I'm already slower than it. But this makes no sense as it already sees the kill. Whatever, this game sucks. With that insane save, last to come out is Weepinbell. From here, I switch out to Whopper who really can't be touched by Weepinbell, set up 2 Swords Dances, and an Aerial Ace is able to finish the battle. With that, we obtain the 4th gym badge. Immediately after this battle, our Burger Queen turns into a Doublade. From here, it's off to the Kalos power plant so that we can stop Team Flare. Here, our Baconator evolves into a Delphox who is very beautiful. Here we defeat Team Flare, whose highest level Pokemon, by the way, is higher than the gym leader's ace, which is insanely stupid. Regardless, it's time to fight Clement in Lumio City. He leads with Emolga, while I lead with Baconator. I outspeed and immediately land a very strong Mystical Fire, while Emolga just goes for an Aerial Ace. One more Mystical Fire takes down Emolga, and next to come out is Magneton. Magneton gets immediately set to sturdy as Mystical Fire does a ton of damage. In retaliation, he just sets up Electric Terrain. Clement tries to stall by using heals, but it's only a matter of time until Magneton goes down to a Mystical Fire. Last to come out is Heliolisk. Mystical Fire does about 40% and lowers special attack. Immediately after, I underestimated Heliolisk damage in Electric Terrain as a crit Thunderbolt would have killed me here. Also, because of the paralysis, I'm forced to switch out to Big Mac. But from here, a simple dig is all it takes to win us the 5th gym battle. From here, we have another run-in with Evil Lysander, and have another quick battle with Callum right next to a swing set. I really wish they gave this guy some megas or something because this is really boring. After this, we head to a haunted house where a guy gives a little story that's not scary at all, so I decide not to tip him because that story was horrible. After this, we head to the Laver City gym where we meet my arch enemy, the stupid teleport puzzles. I hate these with every fiber in my being. After what feels like forever, we finally reach Valerie. She leads with Mawile while I lead with Big Mac. Turn 1, Big Mac sets up a swords dance while Mawile goes for an iron defense. Turn 2, Big Mac sets up another swords dance while Mawile just goes for a weak crunch. On turn 3, I set up another swords dance while Mawile just goes for another weak crunch. I finally attack next turn and Dig is able to knock out Mawile. Next turn, Mr. Mime comes out and sets up Reflect but is knocked out anyways with a return. Last to come out is Sylveon, who barely hangs on from return and retaliates with a very strong dazzling gleam. But we survive, and next turn a return is able to take her out and win us the 6th gym badge. From here, I head to the Pokeball factory where Callum and I just beat up all the Team Flare members here. As a reward, we get the choice between a Big Nugget and a Master Ball. Obviously, I choose the way more valuable option, the Big Nugget, but I end up just getting the Master Ball anyways. Here, right before Valere City, we're able to do another shiny hunt. And here, I find the most adorable, cute little yellow Goomy. I nickname her $5 Box, and she immediately evolves into a Sliggoo. From here, I head to the Ice Cavern to fight more Team Flare members to save an Abomasnow. After saving our 44th president, I head over to Anastar City Gym. I try to enter, but Callum stops me for another mediocre battle that we kinda destroy him in, and then it's finally time to face Olympia. She leads with Sigilyph, while I lead with Whopper. Whopper sets up a swords dance, while Sigilyph just goes for a weak psychic. Next turn, Whopper just lands a Shadow Claw and one-shots Sigilyph. Next turn, Meowstic comes out, and she outspeeds, so I use King's Shield so I can step back up into shield form, and then tank the Shadow Ball with the increased defenses, and switch back to sword form so that I can one-shot with another Shadow Claw. Last to come out is Slowking, who just gets one-shot by a single Shadow Claw, and then we win the 7th gym badge. Very clean battle. From here, I head to Lysander's Cafe and get lost for a little bit because I'm stupid, but I eventually figure out how to beat up the guys and get access to the secret lair. Here I see Lysander again, go through a conveyor belt puzzle, battle and beat some admins, and then get access to the next floor of the lair. Here we meet Lysander, who captured AZ, a man who is very important to the story, but I don't really care. After a bunch of story stuff and a really cool Floette who should be released by now, holding on for Legends ZA, I activate a giant world-destroying device by accident. After that, I gotta clean up the mess I made, so I gotta head over to Geosench Town in order to challenge Team Flare once again. A Team Flare grunt tries to stop me, but I poopy on his face and move on. Lysander tries to stop me, but I kinda clean him up pretty quickly, and it's off to face off against Xerneas. But before that, Callum and I gotta run through a bunch of trainers who are pretty easy to deal with, and we just destroy them. When we arrive, we have to fight off against a gauntlet who would be challenging if they had more than one Pokemon each. But anyways, after that, it's time to finally face Xerneas. Since I'm forced to catch it, I just toss my Master Ball, and then it's time to face Lysander, the hardest fight in this entire run. The really annoying part is that it forces me to lead with Xerneas, which I obviously don't want to do. So I switch out to Chicken Sandwich, and Mienshao just capitalizes super hard and sets up a sword stance. Very fortunately for me, Mienshao just misses high jump kick and takes 50% HP as a consequence. A Moonblast is able to finish off Mienshao, and next to come out is Honchkrow. He fires off a Steel Wing that does a decent chunk of damage to Chicken Sandwich, and a Moonblast is all it takes to take down Honchkrow in one hit. Next to come out is Pyroar. I switch out to Big Mac, but he just takes a buttload of damage from a Fire Blast. So I'm forced to switch out to $5 Box, who takes like no damage from a Fire Blast. A Hyper Voice next turn does a little bit more damage to $5 Box, but it's not that much. I then launch a Muddy Water that does a lot of damage right after. I need to keep $5 Box healthy for Gyarados, so I decide to pivot out to Aegislash, who is immune to the Hyper Voice. On the incoming Fire Blast, I switch out to Baconator, who resists it and takes minimal damage. From here, I outspeed, and Psychic is enough to take down Pyroar from this HP. Last to come out is that dastardly Gyarados. Gyarados Mega Evolves and still deals a huge amount of damage with Aqua Tail even through the resist. From here, I have to switch out to Whopper on random move and pray that it's Outrage. Fortunately, we get the 1 in 4, and Outrage does very minimal damage to Whopper. On the next guaranteed turn of Outrage, I decide to click King's Shield so I can lower the attack of Gyarados. Next turn, Gyarados goes for an Earthquake that does just over half HP, and Sacred Sword guarantees a 2-hit knockout. And now it's down to this. I can't afford to switch to anything, and I just have to pray that a Shield form Aegislash can survive an Earthquake from a -1 Mega Gyarados. It's a very close and scary situation, but I got no other option, and all I can do is just click Sacred Sword and let it rip. And fortunately, our Burger King does it. She holds and survives the Earthquake on 13 HP and is able to knock out Gyarados with a second Sacred Sword. With that, we defeat Lysander and all of his hopes to destroy the world. And it's thanks to this elite team, not you Big Mac, of Pokemon. On our way to the last gym, Professor Sycamore tries to battle us again with his fully evolved team of starters, but we just whoop his butt and move on. On a bridge, our rivals try to fight us, but Shauna just gets destroyed, Tierno gets dog walked, and Trevor gets pooped on. What a lovely trio. Right before the 8th gym badge, however, we decide to do one last shiny hunt. With just over 1.5 thousand encounters, I find myself a shiny Lairon. Kinda whatever because I already have a steel type, but at least it looks pretty cool. I nickname him Grand Slam, and then it's time to face off against Wolfric. But our type matchups are insanely broken. He leads with Abomasnow while I lead with Baconator. Turn 1 I outspeed in one shot with Flamethrower. Next to come out is Avalugg. Avalugg also gets one shot with a Flamethrower. Last to come out is Cryogonal. Cryogonal survives a Flamethrower and lands a Confuse Ray. I ran out of PP on Flamethrower actually because I forgot to heal, so Psychic brings him down to about 60%. I decide to switch out to Whopper so that I'm able to hit it with a super effective move. Cryogonal just goes for a hail, and then Whopper is able to knock out with an Iron Head. With that, we defeat all 8 gyms, and it's time to face the Pokemon League. Here is my team of 6 that is all linked to Zango's team of 6 at the end of the game. I think it's pretty powerful, and I think we have the power to beat the Elite Four and the champion pretty handily. The first one we both challenge is Seabold. Seabold leads with Clawitzer, while I lead with Chicken Sandwich. Turn 1, I set up Sunny Day, while Clawitzer just goes for a weak Water Pulse. On the next turn, Chicken Sandwich does just over half with Moonblast, while Clawitzer just gets his special attack lowered and lands another weak Water Pulse. Next turn, another Moonblast takes it out, and out comes Gyarados. From here, I switch out to $5 Box, who takes a solid chunk from Earthquake on the switch in. Next turn, $5 Box outspeeds and one-shots with Thunderbolt. Next to come out is Starmie, and I switch into Chicken Sandwich. Starmie capitalizes by setting up a Light Screen. Starmie lands a solid Psychic, while I just go for a weak Moonblast in return. Next turn is pretty much the exact same thing, but I land a crit and one-shot the Starmie. Last to come in is Barbaracle, so I switch out to Whopper, who easily tanks a Stab Stone Edge. Next turn, a King's Shield against a Razor Shell lowers Barbaracle's attack. Next turn, I set up a Swords Dance, while a Razor Shell crits, dealing a massive amount of damage. One more King's Shield into a Sacred Sword means the battle is over and we defeat our first Elite Four member. Next up on the chopping block is Wickstrom, the Steel type Elite Four trainer. He leads with Klefki while I lead with Whopper. He sets up Spikes turn 1 while I go for a Swords Dance. Next turn he goes for a weak Dazzling Gleam while I go for another Swords Dance. Then he goes for one last weak Flash Cannon while I set up a third Swords Dance. One last weak Dazzling Gleam, and then Klefki goes down to an Iron Head. Next to come in is Probopass, who I King's Shield first to get the defensive form, as well as some leftovers recovery, and then switch out to Big Mac for some reason on an Earth Power. In post, I don't really know why I did this. But anyways, an Earthquake brings Probopass down to 1 HP, and then a Flash Cannon deals a decent chunk. Wickstrom heals, but a return does that one little bit of damage that we need so that Sturdy doesn't proc next turn on an Earthquake. Next to come out is Wickstrom's own Aegislash. I predict the King's Shield and switch out to Baconator for an easy punish. I make sure to protect so I can get Aegislash to go into its attack form so that it takes more damage. And after that, a Flamethrower is just enough to take down Aegislash. Last to come out is Scizor, and a Flamethrower is enough to easily take it down in one hit. With that, Wickstrom is defeated, and that's 2 out of 4 down. Next up is Malva and her fire types. She leads with Pyroar while I lead with $5 Box. Pyroar goes for a Noble Roar, lowering my stats while I set up a Rain Dance. Next turn, another Noble Roar lowers my stats again, and a Muddy Water does just over half. To reset my stat drops, I switch out to Big Mac on a Hyper Voice. Then I switch back to $5 box on another Hyper Voice. A Noble Roar lowers my stats again, but it doesn't matter this time and Muddy Water is able to knock out Pyroar. Next to come out is Talonflame. I switch out to Grand Slam, who tanks a Brave Bird super easily. Next turn, a Flare Blitz doesn't do too much damage, but then Grand Slam misses a Rock Tomb. Next turn, the Flare Blitz really starts to add up as I drop into the yellow, but fortunately the Rock Tomb lands this turn. Next up is Torkoal. I switch back out to $5 box on an Eruption and take not too much damage. Next turn, I set up a Rain Dance in order to lower the damage, but an Earthquake does a lot of damage still. However, Torkoal just goes down to a Muddy Water pretty easily. Last to come out is Chandelure, who gives a little scale with a Shadow Ball. However, a Muddy Water is able to one-shot it pretty consistently. With that, 3 down, 1 more to go. As I'm sure you know, Drasna is our last one left. She leads with Dragalge while I lead with Baconator. Surprisingly, Dragalge survives the Psychic and lands a pretty decently strong Surf. However, next turn Drasna just heals and a Psychic is able to bring it down to the exact same HP. She tries to stall again with another heal, but another Psychic brings it down to the same HP and then kills it next turn. Next to come out is Altaria. I switch out to Chicken Sandwich on a Cotton Guard, which is fairly safe. Altaria lands a very weak Moonblast, and then we show how it's done with a much stronger Moonblast. Drasna then tries to hack us with Sing, but we have a Chesto Berry just in case, and we wake up instantly and Moonblast takes the KO. Next to come out is Noivern. I switch out to $5 box on an Air Slash and take minimal damage with healing from leftovers. A Dragon Pulse does a decent bit of damage, but we were always safe even from a crit. An Ice Beam is then just enough to kill Noivern. Next to come out is Druddigon. I switch out to Chicken Sandwich on a Dragon move who is immune to it. From here, all it takes is 2 simple Moonblasts and Drasna is done for. With that, we have defeated the Elite Four and we're on to Diantha. And here we are in this grand venue and one last showdown with the strongest trainer in Kalos. Diantha leads with Hawlucha while I lead with Whopper. She can't really touch me at all, so while she goes for an X-Scissor, I go for a Swords Dance. And I just kinda do this for 3 turns. After being at +6, an Iron Head is easily able to one-shot kill the Hawlucha. Next to come out is Goodra, so we King's Shield to switch back to defensive form, tank a Fire Blast, and then take the KO with another Iron Head. Next to come out is Tyrantrum, where we could do the exact same thing where we King's Shield for leftovers recovery, and then one-shot with Iron Head once again. Next to come out is Gourgeist, who has Phantom Force and outspeeds. So on the first Vanish turn, I miss the attack, and then I try to King's Shield, but then I forget that doesn't really work. I foolishly try the same thing again, but it obviously doesn't work. So I decide to switch out to Grand Slam, who has a very high defense stat and can tank this. Phantom Force comes out and deals minimal damage. Next turn, Gourgeist goes for Trick or Treat to make Grand Slam a Ghost type, while I just land a soft Iron Head. Gourgeist then tries to go for Phantom Force again, but then I switch out to Big Mac. But Big Mac can't actually hit any moves, so I switch out to Baconator on the Trick or Treat. And finally, a Flamethrower is able to get rid of this stupid pumpkin. Next to come out is Aurorus, who will do minimal damage to Whopper even at its low HP. Even still, it doesn't even decide to attack and just goes for Protect. I go for a Swords Dance to set up, while Aurorus just lands a very weak Thunder. I King's Shield for recovery, and then knock out Aurorus next turn with an Iron Head. Last to come out is Gardevoir, and as great as the Burger Queen was, it's her time to pass. I let her die to a Shadow Ball so I could get in some other Pokemon. Big Mac then comes in and lands a very weak return, and then goes down to a Moonblast the next turn. Chicken Sandwich then comes in, tanks a Moonblast, and then hits one of his own back. The process repeats next turn, however Gardevoir lives on the tiniest of slivers. This means Diantha heals, and another Moonblast brings her down to about 70%. Here I let Chicken Sandwich just go down and send in $5 box after. $5 box tanks a Moonblast and then lands a very strong Earthquake. Diantha then uses her second healing item while an Earthquake does about a 40%. And finally, Grand Slam is able to come in, tank a Thunderbolt, and kill with an Iron Head. With that, we defeat Diantha and finally win the Shiny Soul Link Challenge. I'd like to thank Zango for inviting me to do this with him, as he's one of my greatest friends ever. And most of all, I hope you enjoy, and I'll probably start uploading more, I promise. Besides all that, thank you for watching, and please enjoy more of my stuff. Thank you, bye bye. Oh, also please subscribe.